Good evening, everybody. This is Yusuf Chowdhury tuning in again from San Antonio, Texas, here at Venture Point. It is 6:54 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so today's question is the ADA, or the American with Disability Act, okay, compatible with the on-page search engine? And of course, the answer I would say yes, or it goes hand in hand. And the reason it goes hand in hand, because if you all remember, part of the extreme recommendation from Google when it comes to your website, they heavily, will tell you that you need to focus on user experience, right? Or the experience of your target audience when they come to the website. How do they experience? What kind of call to action buttons? Are the phone clickable? Is it fast? Does it work very well on the mobile devices? And the website is not built like you're going back in the 90s, right? So in a way, it is kind of goes hand in hand, because some of the adjustments that you have to make on the back end of the website requires for you to check the images, make sure that it has some sort of alt tags, and there's some codes that you have to adjust it in order for a person who's disabled, who's blind, or who can't hear. They have a specific software that can actually read these stuff, right? So to keep it short, yes, it definitely is. But let's go ahead and talk about a little bit, from the search engine point of view, like what are these ADA compliance checklists, for example, right? So what are these checklists? So when it comes to ADA, how this thing goes hand in hand. The first thing is you have to look at the website design, right? You have to look at the design of the site, the way you built it. Where are you trying to take the website visitors? Where do you want them to look at? Where do you want them to click? And whatever information that you want them to read or take some sort of call to action, should be easy for them to find it without any confusion, right? So you have to take that into consideration. Okay, that's the one thing. Excuse me. The second thing, you have to look at the quality of the codes on the back end. And now, when you look at the quality of the codes, you're not just doing it for the AD. In general, if you are going to hire a developer that's going to build a site for you, you can use the W3 the W3, what do you call it? Validator, which is basically will show you how the HTML or how the coding is built up on the back end. So if you have like more than 200 and like 300 errors, and that means it's a problem, right? So you got to make sure the quality of the code is really good and everything is built properly, everything is synced properly. There are no missing tags or missing script, anything like that, right? So that can fall under the on-page technical SEO, right? Then you have to look at it from the from the visual stand, or from the front page, like not on the back end right now. That's on the front page. You can look at how accurate is the description, right? How accurate is the description, or how descriptive it is when you explain certain things on the page, whether it's services, whether it's testimony, whether it's a blog or homepage and whatnot. So as long the information is accurate and descriptive and easy to understand, that also matters, right? The text, are the text too small? What kind of colors are you using? Is it too gray? I don't know why some of these so-called, I don't want to pick on a specific niche, but let's say I've seen a lot of so-called sites with the photography business that they use this, or especially the wedding one, right? They use this fancy looking site, which is amazing, by the way, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to like text, they use like light gray or too small, or it's like not even easy for a human being, or like we have to struggle to read it, right? Just keep it basic, keep it like dark black or dark gray, close to like black, and the size of the font has to be a little bit bigger, because on the desktop, I mean, you can always change the screen on the desktop is different, but on the mobile device, if the text are small, again, it's not good. It has to be a little bit bigger. Like I would say above the 14 to 16, like 18 inch, size. That's the maximum. Links, you don't want to have a let's say you have an about page, right? And some of the words you put like some sort of underline. If it's not linkable to any other pages, whether it's an external pages or internal pages, I mean, there's no point to put an underline, because what happens, some of these systems will try to think that it's a hyperlink. You know what I mean? So you gotta take care of, move that out of the way. Either if there's no linkable to an external site or an internal site, then there's no point of having the, what do you call it, the underline on the text. You know what I mean? The other point, of course, this is the most popular one, is to add the alt text for all the images. So when you upload an image, let's say that you uploaded an image of an elephant, it's going to be, elephant.jpg, even though that has no SEO value. But the fact that you can explain what that image is about. So this is something, people that, if their browser, reads the system and the image doesn't say anything, what is it about, they won't have an idea why that image is there and what is it for, right? So you can say an image of an elephant, or if an elephant is doing something, an image of an elephant is running, or something like that, right? Something short and descriptive, right? So that's actually part of one of the main tasks, not the main task, but one of the tasks of the, when you do on-page SEO, you gotta put this. You gotta make sure that all the images, almost all the images, must have some type of alternative text to the images. Okay. The other point is text transcript. So if you are going to upload a YouTube video on your website as a blog, it's best to have a caption, first of all, on that video anyway. And secondly, if you can take that video and convert it into transcript, this way the search engine can actually read them and index them. And at the same time, you're basically like hitting two camels at the same time. Did I say two camels? Two birds? Okay. It's like, on one hand, you have the search engine going to index the content. And secondly, you have this unique content that you actually probably did a video for 10 minutes or even for like 15 minutes, even for an hour. Imagine the text version of that. It could be like a couple of thousand words, which means more discoverability for the search engine to basically index all this information and get you more keyword discovery or traffic back to the site. Sean, what's going on, my man? Tell me about more. Tell me about the elephant. What's going on? Thank you for tuning in, man. Appreciate it. So, so that's one thing. Have a transcript. Have a caption on the video. And I know that the concept of pop-up for lead captioning is good. I mean, some big insurance company always uses it, but I would recommend that for ADA, try to avoid the pop-up completely, because I noticed that some of the software just for some reason can't figure out what's happening. Okay, try to avoid video autoplay. So let's say I'm coming to your homepage and automatically there's a video that plays by itself. You don't want to do that. Okay, so you might want to make sure that you completely remove that option too. As you can see, some of the stuff that I mentioned is technical. Some of the stuff is like user experience, like how to make it user friendly to the website visitor, especially for people who are disabled, right? The other thing when it comes to like technical side of things, on the back end, you have to set a default language for your website. So there's a code. If you don't put anything on it, it will just empty. So if your website is English based, make sure that you put English default language for that particular website. When it comes to PDF files, for example, you don't want to have a PDF file like pasted on the home page or a specific blog page, like the whole PDF file itself, like as a whole thing. You don't want to do that. If it's a link that takes him to an external PDF link to download, then that's an option. Because the problem is, because a PDF, unlike Word document, sometimes it's the software cannot read it, so it becomes very hard for them to understand what's in it. So it's best that you either use an HTML version of that PDF application or file, or a Word document version. I think the Word document, I have to double check. I'll take that. When the Word document, I got to double check that. But at least if you make it to an HTML format, for sure the software can read it, of that PDF application or file and whatnot. So if you have a content that is in PDF format, why just not rewrite it on the website? You know what I mean? Sean is asking, what's your favorite landing page builder that works well for searchability? I mean, there are tons. I mean, you have Unbounce is really good company. You have leadpages.net, very affordable. You have Instapage, and of course Thrive from the Thrive theme. Because in my agency, we basically build most of the website on WordPress. Okay, now especially the last part of your question that works well for the searchability. Most of these the service based, like I mentioned, the Unbounce, Lead Pages, Instapage, which is you have to pay them monthly. But if you go with WordPress Thrive, I mean, you can build it on the WordPress self-hosted platform. Most of them built to be the code friendly. Like the backend is mostly good stuff, because when it comes to searchability, you have to implement that on-page optimization on the website regardless. And after that, you have to do the offline promotion, which is the off-page SEO. That's what's going to help you to build it. But a lot of premium companies, I mean, they come what do you call it, like ready to make sure that the code is clean and everything is readable and whatnot. You see what I'm saying? But right now, you might want to also look into accessibility, because what we're talking about today, it's the American with Disability Act policy, plus how does that combine with the on-page SEO, right? So those are some of my suggestions for the landing pages. I mean, you can even try the free WordPress landing pages. They're like tons, as long as you optimize it properly. And of course, if you use the W3 validator, just to make sure that there's not too many errors in the backend, right? So as I was saying, avoid PDF files. If you have a content in PDF format, turn it into a website, or just create a page for it on the website. Make sure your website is keyboard enabled. So what does keyboard enabled mean? So if I don't want to use the mouse, I just want to use the tab and caps and shift and move around, make sure that it works on all the browsers and it's enabled. You can ask the developer, how does that work? Okay. Another tip is that you can also add a sitemap on the footer of every single page. I mean, because when you scroll down, you can see all the same navigation pages on the top. Then you have it all on the bottom, kind of repeated. But you can, when it's repeated, you can also add like privacy policy, terms of service, legal disclaimer, and accessibility policy, and also the whole map, because the footer actually shows the purpose of the sitemap. You can add a page called sitemap, and that takes to all the pages from the primary, which is the main navigation, sub pages, then subcategories, and so forth, like a map. So that's actually help. It's good, and especially for the ADA. Okay, because once you do some of this technique, I mean, if you want to go into the depth of how the system works, you can also look into text to speech voice services. You can look at closed captioning. You can look at text reader and magnifier softwares or service-based, screen reader software, optical character readers. If you use some of these software to test and see how do they work, how does the website work for people with disability, then you can definitely troubleshoot that. In fact, there's a company I think called Ability something, where part of the service is to have somebody, an actual person that actually can. A disabled person who's blind can actually go and give you some feedback. I think that's really good. And don't forget to add a customer support to help people with disability. Thrive, cool. We'll check it out. Do social backlinks work for certain these days? That's a good question too, Shannon. When it comes to social backlinks, that's part of the link building process. So in the link building technique, which is the off-page SEO, right? One of the off-page SEO is the link building technique. And there are like probably 50 ways of doing it, right? You got to make sure that they're all ethical, doesn't violate the Google's Webmaster Standard or the Bing. So one of the techniques is that is called social media profile. That means when you create the social media channels like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and whatnot, you got to make sure the brand is consistent, the color is consistent with the website, all the information is consistent, and in the profile, in the about section, you have that link. So when people click on it, it comes to your website. You can also check it from by logging into your Google Analytics, go to acquisition, then look at the traffic source, and then you will see where the traffic is coming from. So that's one way. The second thing is, if you're sharing some content in Facebook, it has a link that points back. That also helps. Another awesome technique that if you want to utilize it, this works very well, which is the LinkedIn. So LinkedIn right now has a feature where you can blog within the LinkedIn network, right? So you have the post box where you can upload images, videos, but there's an option called Write. When you click on it, it gives you that format like back in the day, like Blogger, like the same format. So you can have a title, upload images, and make like an actual blog. So imagine you have an awesome content with the video and everything. When I'm reading it, and to continue reading, it says part two. Click, and that takes me to the part two of the blog post on your website. So now the LinkedIn, which is not just considered, it is a high authority website, and you get a traffic from there. Then you can track it, and it can also help with your search engine optimization. Okay, so see, these are some ideas why the ADA, I see it as something really compatible with the search engine. I think, not just right now, this year, I decided to, if I'm going to offer on-page SEO, I have to also offer the ADA with it because it goes hands in hand. And plus, the customer going to get a lot of benefit when Google notices that this particular website are implementing ADA. That means there's a higher quality of the website. Makes sense? So there's a chance that it will bring in more discoverability, more traffic. Makes sense? Thank you, Sean. So when people ask me, like, how do you define I mean, you can just look at, if you just Google ADA, I mean, it stands for the American with Disability Act, right? I mean, it was actually, when it was created, I think it was in the 90s. I don't know if it's 91 or I think 1990. You want to check it out. And the whole idea behind it was to basically help people with disability when you go to stores and stuff like that, having access on government building and whatnot. That was the whole idea behind it, right? But that was in 1990, I think. Okay, but now with the internet, things are different, right? I mean, people focus on the tangible outside stuff. I mean, look at some of the. You'd be surprised at how some of the stuff, like when you see all in the C-SPAN, like when the founder of Facebook, talks to all these so-called politicians, they're like clueless when it comes to the internet, right? So some might ask, like, why is it still important? I mean, it's important because it can help you to generate an additional target audience that are from the disability side of the world. Makes sense? I mean, you don't want to ignore them. I mean, I would say 99% of business don't even think about them, which is kind of not nice, kind of sad, right? So we gotta help them. Make sure they're like more than, I don't know what, 50 million something folks. You know what I mean? That we have to help them. So it why it's important, if you ask, I mean, it helps it to generate or increase a target audience from that side of the world, right? Then it also helps you to improve your search engine efforts, specifically the on-page, search engine efforts. It can also help you with being compliant with your reputation, because if you do this, imagine your reputation about the site, right? So overall, it can give an awesome experience for people with disability and non-disabled. Okay, and I think that maybe sometimes the most important thing, if you want to avoid penalties, because unfortunately in 2018, like almost 2 years ago, there were so many cases of some attorneys going after small business, even the very mom and pop shop kind of businesses. There were like more than 2,800 cases, right? So if you want to avoid that, I mean, why not just, you don't want to do it for that, but I mean, because you want to do it, you want to help, you know what I mean? But at least one of the importance or the benefits, if you can avoid lawsuit, right? You can avoid lawsuit. So yeah, it started like around 2018. So there was an increase of like 181, from the previous year. So you can, check that and see what the heck, right? But if you do want to study like the ADA, I mean, there's a whole guideline. It's called the WCAG, which stands for Web Content Accessibility Guideline. So this guideline basically provides all the technical specification and how to improve the website from the perspective of accessing the content, the pages for desktop, for laptop, for tablets, mobile devices, in a wide range of, for people with the right range of disabilities, including like auditory and cognitive and neurological, physical speech and whatnot. So it's super amazing. I mean, it's a huge, like, so many pages of details. And there are three types. They call it WCAG 2.0A and AA and AAA. We usually focus on just the AA. So it's a specific standard we follow when we try to optimize for ADA. Okay, in fact, there's this awesome website called accessible.org. And the author, what he did, he took all these complicated, probably I don't know how many hundred of pages of guidelines and rules, and he kind of specified it and made it simple for you to understand. So when you get a chance, check out like accessible.org /WCAG then the minus sign or the dash 20 dash guide. So check that one out if you want to learn more. Okay. So, and of course, if you use WordPress, I mean, if some people tell me, should I use a plugin? I would not rely on it because the plugin can do few things. It will not help you to add the alt tags or anything like that. So I wouldn't heavily focus on that. There are tools out there like Site Improve extension. We can add it to your Chrome extension and drop in the link on the URL. Then it's going to show you all the errors. Or you can use wave.webaim.org, which is the one that most attorneys use before they sue somebody. You can use that free tool and see exactly where the problem is, because the cool thing about wave.webaim.org, it shows exactly everything. I mean, if you use the homepage, it's going to show you exactly on the homepage what are the issues and the definition and what it means and how to fix it, right? So you can pass that. Some of the stuff you can do by yourself, right? Few things, but the majority of it is technical, that you can definitely pass it to your developer to take care of that. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that was a question for today. I hope it was beneficial for you all. So if you still have any more question on the subject of digital marketing, web, anything like that, feel free to ask. I'm going to wait for a minute and see if anybody else has any questions. If not, I'll bounce and I'll be back next week. Okay, no questions. Anytime, bro. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I'm just waiting for a minute. See if there's any more question. Okay, minute is over, and again, thanks for those that tuned in. And if you're watching this as a replay, put a replay on the comment section. If you all benefited from this, want to tag some of your business friends, feel free to do so. Invite them or share. I would highly appreciate it. And I'll see you all next week. Don't forget to send me those. Keep sending me those questions. Y'all have an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.